Hello and welcome to another live edition of the Nittany Dispatch. I'm John Sauber, Penn State beat writer at the Center Daily Times. She's Audrey Snyder doing the same at her InsideTheLions.substack.com, where you can subscribe and read all of her work. Audrey, this is another game week, and it feels like no one cares. To be
Few
blunt,
people care. Yeah, I think few people outside of the football building care that it's a game week. It's just, I mean, that's this season in a nutshell. It's inching
yeah,
closer to the finish line. It's a matter of, what can you do just to kind of get to the end and keep the focus on the coaching search. I don't know. I feel like we learned some things this week so far about kind of the status of this team and where their heads are at. And we heard from quarterback Ethan Grunkemeyer today, linebacker Dom DeLuca, and John, everybody's just still trying to stay afloat. Just like you and I, they're trying to stay afloat.
yeah, and this is what I wrote about postgame, right? And you can find that at CenterDaily.com. This team is searching for purpose, right? Like everyone has to try and find their own personal reason to still care and to still fight for this team and still fight for those wins. Obviously, they still want to win these games, right? They're going out, putting max effort in. As Terry Smith has said over and over again, this team is still putting effort in. They're still trying. It's just a weird situation where we don't know if anyone in the football building will be at Penn State in 3 months. Like, we have no idea. That goes for players, coaches, support staff, train, like whatever, everybody. And so it creates this strange dynamic where you have to do that, right? You have to find, like, part of it's pride. Like, a lot of people will play for pride because they don't know any other way and they love the sport. But some will play for film to help out at their next stop. Coaches will coach for, the benefit of
Jobs.
their next stop too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's a very strange dynamic that obviously we never saw coming at the beginning of the year. But even now that we're here, it's like these conversations that we have, right? Like we go live twice a week where we're obviously focusing a lot on the coaching search, and we'll get to that too. But everyone is kind of trying to figure out what's going on a little bit, right? It feels like everyone is a little bit into the wilderness right now, and that goes for us, for them. Like it's a very strange dynamic right now.
Yeah, I think Saturday afternoon, noon kick, Indiana comes to town. Number 2, Indiana. Good luck going from number 1 Ohio State to number 2
Yeah,
Indiana back-to-back weeks.
could be number one Indiana, by the way, because
Yes.
the college football playoff rankings come out here in about 40
Mm-hmm.
or 54 minutes, and
And
so
we
we'll
don't have
see.
to worry about that from the Penn State perspective.
Yeah, you know what's funny? We were gonna have to have a conversation about, like, okay, we got to move the Tuesday live show to after the rankings so we can discuss it and everything. And I never came up, never had to think
No,
about it.
didn't need to do that. But I think it's like seeing Terry Smith. This is going to be his first time as the interim head coach in Beaver Stadium. So Saturday's going to be the first game without James Franklin on the sideline in a very long time. In fact, as we were walking into the stadium Monday for Terry Smith's news conference, I snapped a photo of the coaching plaques along the side of the Beaver Stadium wall, and they have yet to fill in. It's James Franklin 2014 dash. And I
Yes.
guess, they'll wait to the end of the season to put that in there, but they do not, John. I noticed they don't give the interims a plaque. So there's no sign for Tom Bradley out there. There's presumably going to be no sign for Terry Smith trying to keep this thing afloat. But yeah, they do need to fill in the end date for Franklin and his career record. So that'll be something very, very small that we'll see happen in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, and this thing still feels weird, and it's like everyone's kind of going through the motions, and quite frankly, it's weird trying to ask football questions and ask about
Yes.
roster and the personnel, because the reality is, I mean, we all saw the conversations post game with Chaz Coleman and Ohio State, and there was an usher even loving him up and talking to him. Like, we don't know who's going to be on this roster, and so many of these younger guys that you'd love to keep. Terry Smith was asked about it this week, and he said, "Yeah, we're just being honest, and that's all they can do. They can't promise and say, hey, we're going to be here next year,' because they don't know that." But I asked Terry on Monday if they've had any conversations between himself and the administration about a bowl game, and if by some chance of bad fortune, I will say, this
Yeah.
team gets to 6 wins, would they play in a bowl game? Would they consider it? Would they have a conversation? Would they let it up to the team? And Terry said that, they have not had that talk yet, but that he senses that this is a team that would want to play, that looks like so far they want to play, because as he said, they haven't laid down yet. Now, all along, John, I've been saying and writing over on my Substack Inside the Lions that this team does not need to worry about a bowl game. They shouldn't. I only ask now because the path to 6 wins is a little more manageable with Dylan Raiola out of the equation for Nebraska. So maybe that's 6 again. I still don't think this team is going to get to 6 based off of what we've seen. But if they do not need to be playing in late December in, Detroit, in Pinstripe Bowl, wherever it may be, because this whole timeline, this whole trajectory, everything is about this next coach and these players finding their next spot and this coaching staff figuring out if they're staying or going. To me, that was one of the things when he said it, and I was kind of like, I mean, I get it. He's not going to say, hey, we're actually out now, but,
It's a very interim head coach thing to say, I would be pretty surprised if they reach bowl eligibility, and 2, if they reach it and then decide to go. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for anyone involved.
And I understand with the revenue share aspect of this, like in normal circumstances, you want your teams playing in these bowl games, but I don't. Now, you can make the argument that they technically would have a roster because I was looking at this today. I'm working on a timeline piece. The portal would not open until January 2nd because also all of so much, this is like inside baseball, but so much of the portal window was changing right as James Franklin got fired. So it would have been like you have a 5-day window. The coach comes in 5 days to like meet with the coach, then 15 for the window. That's not the case unless they would hire a coach in the spring, which God forbid, John, that means this search is really off the rails if that happens.
Yeah,
that's not happening. So January 2nd is really the date that you need to look at. Well, if you're playing in a bowl game December 26, 27, just forget it. I mean, everybody needs to kind of, I think, move on, pack up, figure out what's next.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to end up happening. It just, like you said, it doesn't make sense for anybody. It's a weird situation. I don't know what Saturday is going to look like. By the way, if you're watching live on YouTube, feel free to leave comments in the chat and questions. We'll try and get to as many of those. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button down below and hit the subscribe button as well. That always helps us out. We appreciate it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews as well. But yeah, I think just looking in the chat here, Steve says, so if nobody cares how many people will be in Beaver Stadium this week, does the attendance hit 6 figures? The announced attendance will, because the announced attendance always does. And it is more about like the tickets sold,
not butts in seats. Yep.
Yeah, and they have over 90,000 season ticket holders, so there's like a baseline that they're going to be at no matter what. I'll be really curious to see what it looks like Saturday. This is, as you said, the first game since James Franklin was fired in Beaver Stadium. The first game since everything became impossible, right? Like when that Northwestern game started, they could have made the playoffs still. They had a chance, and now it's all gone. And, I will be curious to see what it kind of looks like on Saturday.
I will add to that. Penn State has not really done a great job publicizing this, but Saturday is Military Appreciation Day. So they do a really cool gesture, seats for service members. So season ticket holders can donate their tickets to military families. They can come up, go to the game, which is a really cool thing. So I do think that you will see maybe more people than you're expecting because of that element to it. But
do you know it's the helmet stripe game too?
Did not know that. Did not know that was the game theme.
Yeah, it is the fake whiteout, essentially. The whiteout without being a whiteout. Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, it's tough. And, here you are. Weather looks good for Saturday from what I've seen already, like early on this week, which doesn't really mean much around here. Things change quickly. But, I mean, I think you're trying to keep a crowd engaged, and that's hard with a backup quarterback with a roster that hasn't won since September 13th.
Hasn't beaten a Power 4 opponent.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tough sell. And, like, kudos to the people who are going to show up and
for sure.
Tailgate and have a good time. Like, respect the heck out of that because this is not the on-field product that any of us thought we'd be talking, writing about, watching. But for so many people, this is a big part of what they love and what they want to do. And it's November, so you're going to be in the tailgate lots for a Big Noon kick. But even Big Noon's not originating from here. They're in Iowa City. which tells you
Yeah,
a lot about this game too, I think.
I don't know what's going on with that. Whatever. It's a weird situation. I thought this game was going to be at 3:30 because of that.
You get Gus
I'm
Johnson on the call again.
Yeah, personally grateful that it's at noon because we will be out of the stadium hopefully by 7. And again, we will be live post game like we always are. Don't worry, everybody.
Michigan State 3:30. We do know that one. Michigan State the
Yes.
following week 3:30 in East Lansing, which
Nice for those of us going to Pistons Sixers the night before.
very nice for those folks. But I just, John, I my memories of Lansing. We can get into this next week. I just don't have good memories in that place. It's just always not great. So
Well, it's always the end of the year too, so the weather factors always ratchet it up quite a bit.
don't. I've waited out one lightning delay there in my life.
The other thing though you mentioned about like the sort of the vibes on Saturday, Curt Cignetti's not gonna stop like Ryan Day did, right? Like Ryan Day, like there was a level of like, okay, get out healthy, you know, much bigger goals. Like Curt Cignetti is going to be foot on the gas the entire game. Like I saw the spread for this game is, I think it started at 13.5 and it's at 14.5 now. And yeah, I don't know about that.
Listen, our friends at DraftKings will get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, that is certainly a line that has been set. I don't know about
that.
This has the potential to be the ugliest game of the season for Penn State.
Yeah, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think you gotta wait it out this week and get to Michigan State so you have a winnable game. And I'm sure Indiana's probably saying I'm talking all kind of rat poison right now by saying these things, but
I don't think they have to worry about it too much.
No, I mean, this is an offense that is so high-powered that Terry Smith even said that, we've got to get our secondary cleaned up. That basically, if you thought it was bad last week with the defensive backs with the wide receivers getting behind the defensive backs, these guys really, really good too. So this is a potent passing attack that Terry said he's going to be more hands-on with the corners this week, which I think will be a welcome sight for those guys in the room, but also for fans watching, because that was not a good showing on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, I think you're trying to, James Franklin, they'd always say when the players the night before do their share, what's their why? Who are they playing for? Why do they do this? I think Terry's going to have to continue to push those buttons to find ways to motivate this group, and he's done a nice job of that. I mean, I hope fans understand how difficult of a situation this is to be put into, trying to keep this thing afloat. And like he keeps saying, I mean, they haven't laid down, they haven't quit yet. Guys are still showing up. I mean, last week, I believe it was, he said, effort-wise, it was like their second best practice of the year. And I wanted to ask, didn't get a chance to, but wanted to ask, what was the first best one? Like, what was it early in the year? Was it, whatever? Was it because you're coming off a bye week? I don't know, but I just think there's so many things you have to sort through from that side of it. But then you look at this offense and you look at Ethan Grunkemeyer, and we talked, with Ethan on Tuesday, and he's not hiding from the fact that this is a tough spot to be in. I think we all also recognize that, if you still have Drew Aller at this point and your season's already off the rails, it's slightly better. Again, what we saw from Aller was not good enough for an elite team, but still, you'd have an above-average Big Ten quarterback. The fact that we're talking about passing the ball vertically instead of horizontally, John, I think that's just tells us all we need to know right now.
You mentioned if they had Drew Aller right now. If Drew Aller was healthy, I think there is a chance that James is still the head coach. I don't know that it's certainty.
I don't think that Northwestern would have changed much.
No, but I think the prospect of finishing, like when Drew Aller goes out in that situation, right? He's out for the year. You're now looking like 3-9, right? Like is fully on the table. If Drew were still healthy, I think we would all look at this schedule differently, right? And we'd be looking at probably 7-5, 8-4.
Honestly, I would not have gone that high just because of what we saw. There wasn't much that was going to change my mind, to be honest.
If they had Drew, I think they would have beaten Iowa, and I think they would win those last 3 games.
I mean, John, I think you're forgetting the guy that we saw who's missing the quote unquote easy throws, the check down throws. Like I don't know what Drew is gonna show up, and sure, you'd like to think that.
I think the worst version of Drew
shows up. Yeah, I mean, this offense is all kinds of a mess.
Yes,
And
but I think the worst version of Drew is better than Ethan right now. Like the absolute
for
worst
sure,
version.
for
And
sure.
so I
But I
think like
still don't think
Iowa, when
that's
it's that
good
tight
enough.
of a difference, I think the trajectory of the rest of the season played a role in the timing of the firing, I guess, is
Here's
what
what
I'll
I'll
say.
also say on the firing. Speaking to people in the know, part of the concerns were that if you let this go and you bring James Franklin back, because again, I mean, I remember even early on we were having the conversations of like, well, we're really going to know after Ohio State
When you say bring
and
him back,
maybe
do you mean
Indiana.
back at the end of the year
Keep
or
him.
back?
No, if you were going to keep James and like see how Ohio State plays out, then make
Yeah,
a decision.
yeah.
Part of the concern was Indiana coming in here and dropping 70 and then the crowd response to that.
Yes.
Like that was a legitimate concern of like, again, this is the first game without James Franklin at Beaver Stadium. There were moments where it's like, we don't want to have that fan response again because this was really bad and toxic. So,
well, and there's a level of it's better for Penn State if James Franklin gets a job, right? And like
yes, financially,
lot.
yes.
I think the timing benefits Penn State in that regard too, right? Like there's a level of James kind of having to sit and watch a full season play out and not be a coach. There's also a level of when you fire someone and they're 3-3, you can say you get all of the conversations right. This team was just in the playoff 9 months ago or whatever, and you're firing them after 3 losses.
A minute away from the national championship game.
Yeah, but if he's 3-9, or if he's 4-8, or if he's even 5-7, all of a sudden the conversation is more negative and blaming him, and then maybe Virginia Tech's not as interested, maybe Florida State's not, right? So like I think the timing is important in that regard too. We will discuss the coaching search here. Do you want to do coaching search or predictions first? I'm going to do the ad reads before both, but I'll let you pick after.
Do the ad reads and I'll think on it.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll give you some time to think about it. The rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets. Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back. Think you know the game? Put your knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook and turn your picks into big payouts. With live betting, rivalry week odds boosts, and more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to own every Saturday. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DISPATCH. That's code DISPATCH. For new customers, get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms of responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. 10 out of 10. Elite.
Well, you know what? If you're watching on YouTube, you just saw me get up and leave when John started reading that. I had to check on dinner. Full disclosure, dinner's in the oven. So this is live. This is live. How we do business around here on Tuesday nights. John, I don't think you're wearing anything for Roback tonight.
I actually had a Roback hoodie on earlier. Got a little warm, and then decided to go hoodieless for the episode tonight. So,
do you not have a hoodie on now?
No, t-shirt.
Oh, I was the back of the cherry, so sorry about that.
U.S. men's national team soccer t-shirt.
Okay. Well, our friends over at Roback have an offer running for new customers and listeners of the Nittany Dispatch. You can save 20% off of your first purchase over at Roback.com with code TND20. That's TND as in the Nittany Dispatch 20. Hoodies, joggers, hats, all the merch that you see John wear all the time.
Golf
you've
apparel.
Probably seen your friends wear golf apparel. Hate to say it, John, but holiday shopping time is coming. So new customers to Roback can use code TND20 to save 20% off your first purchase.
All right. You want to do game predictions or get to the coaching search?
Let's do game predictions because that way we'll keep it moving, and that way my dinner in the oven will be done right as we finish. This showbiz right here.
I'll go first. I think Indiana wins this game 45-13. And I think they pour it on, and I think there's a chance that 45 number could be a lot bigger, and there's a chance that 13 number could be a lot smaller. And I will say for my player that we're going to be talking about post-game on Saturday. I always want to say Sunday because we used to do this on Sundays. Now that we do it post-game, it always messes me up a little bit. But I think we're going to be talking about Devontae Ross scoring a long touchdown as Terry Smith talks about getting vertical, and I think he is the guy that finally breaks through the back end of a defense, and that's how they score their only touchdown to go with 2 field goals in the game.
John, it sounds like you and I heard what the spread was, and we're making some decisions that have nothing to do with that because I've got Indiana winning 48-10.
Yeah, the spread. I was very
I mean,
surprised.
and Terry Smith did say that he called Curt Cignetti a friend because Western PA guys super close relationship. Does
Curt
that
don't
maybe
care.
keep Curt not running up? I don't think so. Like
No.
if there's one thing to know about this guy, and we talked about it earlier, he's going to put that pedal to the metal and he's not going to let up. Again, I picked last week I think it was like a 44-10-ish type pick against Ohio State. Again, 48-10 this week. I'm picking a different wide receiver, John. God help us all. I don't know.
Yeah, well, why are we both going receivers with this team?
I know. Maybe I should just pick Katron Allen because
Nope,
that's
too
probably
late.
the only chance of a
Nope.
guy getting in the end zone. But you know what, John? I think from a talking perspective, because we said the player we're going to be talking about on Saturday, we're going to keep talking about Koby Howard and what it's going to take to get the freshman on the field. Terry Smith did give us some insight on Monday and said, you have to be cognizant of the young guys and them not knowing everything in the playbook. But again, they've been saying they're going to play this guy for a long time. Gonna play him. We're going to play him this week. We're going to make sure he's on the field. He's going to be. And then you don't see him play much. And then we
They're going to throw it down the field. Don't worry, though. They'll throw it vertically.
Yeah, throw it vertically.
Listen,
and then you see it going that way. Yeah.
I do think it has to happen this week because Terry Smith has said it too many times now. If it doesn't happen again on Monday, we're going to be like, Terry, dude, just stop.
It's so I don't know. We've had the Denmark and Howard conversation all year, and James Franklin pointed to special teams earlier in the year, and then Terry's now saying with the plays. I just get the kid on the field. Young, talented player, get him on the field. I want to see it, John. I want to have something else to talk about after Saturday.
All right, coaching search. This is not going to be, I don't think, the most extensive update on these types of things. We talked about this on Saturday. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear this, but I don't think much has changed right now. I think I said this on Saturday. I can't remember if I did. I think Pat Kraft and his athletic department is comfortable chasing their biggest targets over and over and over again. And then if it doesn't work with those targets, that being Mike Elko, Kalen DeBoer, I think a little bit to a lesser degree, Marcus Freeman, then they will pivot to what's next, right? Brent Key, Clark Lee, those types of candidates.
Lee, I like that, yeah.
Yeah. I would be surprised right now if Jeff Brom were in that tier. I don't think he is. I am trying to be careful. I don't think he is necessarily what they're looking for in a candidate. I think there's a through line with a lot of these other coaches, the CEO types who are just the face of the program types, not necessarily,
coach.
Yeah, not necessarily someone who's wants to be running drills in practice, right? Not that these guys can't, to be clear. I'm not saying that as a negative to them, but they are capable of being the face of the program. And I think that is going to be a major priority for Penn State, is why I continue to emphasize that being a standing head coach or having head coaching experience is going to be really important. But yeah, I just think until they are 110% certain, and even after that, they're going to ask one more time, there's no moving off of those guys right now. I think, and like I said, I want to be clear that doesn't mean they're just completely ignoring the possibility that their top candidates all say no. I just think that they are entirely comfortable waiting and seeing and letting games play out and seeing if Texas A&M loses or seeing if Alabama loses, seeing if Notre Dame loses, and then going from there. I just, it's a weird spot to be in because this search has been going on for so long now that I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but that's where it's at right now. But I will say those not secondary candidates, but the next tier of candidate, it is Lee, Key. I think Eli Drinkwitz in there, but I've been saying since last month that I think he ends up at Florida. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe Penn State can put up a fight there. But I don't think that they're going to even start ranking that tier of candidates until they know for certain that they have to move to it.
And that's, again, and we've hit on this many times, the timeline piece of all of this is, I think so I want to present it this way, right? The Penn State fan rooting guide for your candidate, right? Because I think the timeline is the way you have to think about it. And the Mike Elko Penn State fan rooting guide is that best case scenario, A&M 10-2 doesn't make the playoff.
Which is realistic, by the way.
Yeah, I pulled up the rest of their schedule today. I'm working on a piece about this on Inside the Lions over my Substack. That'll be in subscriber inboxes Wednesday morning. That is your best case scenario if you want Mike Elko. Now, if that happens, the college football playoff selection show is December 7th. Penn State plays Rutgers on, I believe, the 29th.
29th.
Yes, that's looking at my calendar, the 29th.
Trust me, I've had that date circled for a while now. Probably 3 weeks.
I've got all the dates coming in this story as well, the key dates that you need to know coming to this same piece on Inside the Lions tomorrow morning. But that kind of gives you a nice window, too, because we're going to have a pretty good idea of where A&M stands. And that's why, again, we'll start to look at the rankings tonight at 8 p.m. from a little bit of a different perspective of how does the committee view A&M.
How they view Alabama. That. I think that is actually going to be – that is one I'm fascinated to see. I think where – sorry to cut you off, but I think where Alabama is tonight is going to be really indicative because it's going to be telling whether or not they need to lose 1 or 2 more games for Penn State to have a chance. And the same is true of Notre Dame.
And when you look at that, because you want, again, a best case scenario for Penn State is that you have your guy by late November, between that and when the playoff is announced. That window, like that week time frame, is ideally what you're looking for. Because so much of what that new coach has to do is re-recruit this current roster and meet with these players, figure out what's going on. And again, January 2nd is the date when the portal window opens. So then the guys have 15 days from January 2nd to January 16th to figure out if they're coming or going and what that looks like. Now, John, let's be honest. There will be deals made behind the scenes, as there always are everywhere.
In college football, never.
Players will enter the portal and suddenly within seconds announce that they're going here, there, anywhere. But that's why for people who say, like, well, wouldn't you rather get your guy, right? Like, say if Elko really is your guy and, wouldn't you want to try to wait him out in a playoff run? You just can't afford to do that with the way college football is right now.
And this is the thing with that whole conversation.
You don't know when it's going to end.
Right. And that is the thing that people kind of, I think, are missing. There's this like, oh, you can wait till the 21st or the 29th. It's like, okay, but what if he keeps winning? Like, what if he's still the head coach on January 9th or whatever it is, January 20th? Like, that is a massive risk. And then, like, is that school letting that coach leave?
Luck.
Like,
hey, you just played a national championship game and now you're going to go to Penn State. Like, I just don't see that. Like, you have to, again, I think Penn State, and this is why, to your point about letting everything play out, that's why you have to do this. That's why you have to wait. And I understand everybody would love if Penn State would have hired a head coach a week ago. You and I would have loved that. It would have been great, but that's just not how it happens, especially when you have this long of a search because you fired your head coach in mid-October. Like, that's just what this is.
Yeah, and just to get to some names brought up in the chat, you're going to love this one. Once again, Brian Hartline. Again, I'll say it over and over again. He is not a serious candidate for this job. I do not anticipate him being a serious candidate for this job unless they strike out on so many head coaches. If this job were open in 4 years after he's the head coach somewhere else, maybe. Same is the case with Bob Chesney, who I'm very high on. I do not expect him to be a part of the search, or at least a major part in it. That is just not the tier of candidate that Penn State is looking for. I think you could make the argument that maybe they should try and catch that guy rather than waiting and taking the shot. But, that's where things stand right now. I do not anticipate either of them being, involved in this. Same, frankly, with like someone like Manny Diaz. I don't know that he's going to be a major part of this either.
Pat Kraft hired before, technically.
Yes, for a week. So I think, like I said, my expectation is that this is going to focus on Elko and DeBoer to an extent Freeman until it doesn't. And I know people want a coach hired right now. They want a coach hired in the next 2 weeks. They want him hired in the next 3 weeks. They are not going to have a coach in all likelihood until at least November 29th when that final clock hits zero. And even then, it's probably going to take a little bit. Like, it's probably not going to be seconds after the clock hits zero.
Yeah, and
even I think that we're looking at the selection committee. Yeah, because you're going to be looking at like who gets in and who doesn't. Now, maybe a coach loses. I don't know if Bama loses to Auburn and LSU and they have 3 losses and you know that they're not getting in. Okay, maybe that changes things. Or if Elko loses 3 straight or 3 or 4, they're not losing to Samford. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But if they lose 3 or 4 to end the year, then maybe you're having that conversation early. But I just think until there's clarity on those top, I shouldn't say I think, until there is clarity on those top candidates, they're not going anywhere. They're going to keep having these discussions. That is the tier of coach Penn State thinks it can get. It's the tier of head coach Penn State thinks it should get. And it's the tier of coach that Penn State is going to chase until they know that they aren't going to get them. And so
you don't fire James Franklin and the security most years of double-digit wins to just be like, we're just going to, start with our tier 2 guys. Like,
yes.
This is the position you put yourself in, and now you got to wait it out and see.
Also, one more note: since we recorded, Nebraska lost to USC, and
I was going to say, are we going to touch on Matt Rhule? And,
I just can't imagine them hiring Matt Rhule at this point. Who knows? Maybe things go in a crazy direction, but right now, because of the way his season has gone, I don't envision that being the case. Same with some other candidates that have been sort of on the periphery of it, but Rhule is the primary one where I think things have changed pretty drastically.
Yeah, would have been a tough sell. Definitely gets even more of a tough sell now. But again, as I said earlier, them losing Dylan Raiola kind of maybe keeps the door open for Penn State in that senior day game here in a few weeks. Yeah, I think this is just where the search is. Again, we're recording this on Tuesday, November 4th. So, yeah. John, we could realistically, I think in probably the most likely scenario on December 4th, I still think we're in this point where we're like, well, they're close, but they haven't hired their guy yet.
But I do think at that point we'll know what it looks like.
We'll know scoreboard watching. Yeah.
And we'll have an idea of, okay, is Elko realistic? Because and listen, I know a bunch of fans are saying like, you're crazy for saying Elko would leave or DeBoer would leave. There has been reciprocated interest on, with these guys, right? Like this has not been not as much with Freeman, I'll say, but like Penn State is not going to just chase if it was told flat no immediately. Yeah. There's been reciprocated interest. I don't know that
guy played football at Penn.
This is I
think that's the regional part of this.
And
I think matters.
Yeah, and like following the guy is not necessarily a good time when it comes to Kalen DeBoer. And if he missed the playoff for the second year in a row, like I don't know, there's a chance he goes into his third year on the hot seat. Does he want that? I don't know. And I don't I'm not even saying that Penn State's a better job than them. I'm not saying, that they have better resources or whatever, but I think everyone likes to treat coaches as a monolith that you want X, Y, and Z out of your career. That's not always the case. Like coaches want specific things. Sometimes it's to be closer to home. Sometimes it's a specific type of resource that one school has over the other. There's a lot of things at play. Sometimes it's the autonomy. Maybe it's not to deal with specific boosters. Maybe they're just sick of being somewhere and they want to move somewhere else. There are a lot of things that go into play with these types of decisions that I think people sort of are willing to or too often overlook with head coaching searches. And they're going to be at play here if Penn State lands. And it's a major if. It's going to be a major if, but if Penn State lands one of those coaches. Once again, though, real quick, seeing Fran Brown on the chat, it will not be Fran Brown. I promise you that.
You said when you said about boosters and all these other things coaches have to deal with. I don't know. Did you catch Bill O'Brien today? Had a viral moment. I just saw.
I saw it went viral. I didn't actually see what he said. It seems he threw a temper tantrum.
The reporter asked a question, and it was kind of like, "Well, you lost to Notre Dame. You keep losing," and Bill was like, "The sun's up. We're playing football." Like he's trying to be Mr. Positive, which is also really funny. Having covered Bill O'Brien, because he could he could go off the handle at any point. Like it was a very different dynamic. But yeah, he was like yelling at this reporter and he's like, I'm positive, I'm being positive. Like, it's great. If you have a second, check out the clip. Made me laugh. And again, I was just like, but it speaks to the dynamic. And Bill O'Brien here, ball coach and not the CEO type. And again, that's so much of this too. When you get coaches at this level, this top tier, the general manager hire is a significant component of that. I'm getting into this in my piece tomorrow on Inside the Lions. I'm not done the piece yet, full disclosure, but I don't know. I've written a lot. We could be like 2,000 words. I don't know. But that's kind of the other thing to think about, because it's about roster management and understanding the market value for your position and how much money you're going to allot to specific players and position groups. Like,
and how you want to allocate that across the roster.
Yes, like that is very much college basketball has taken the lead on that. We've seen that play out there in the role.
College basketball took the lead on that in the early 2000s and 90s.
Yes. Yeah. College basketball, like if ever you want to know, like, well, how's the craziest thing that this sport's going to do? Just look at college basketball and you get a really good idea of how crazy a sport can get.
Yeah, college basketball has been doing this long before NIL. Anyways, I digress. I think that's probably a good place to leave this for now. We will be back post-game on Saturday, as always, to talk about the Indiana game and probably more so talk about the coaching search, if anything has changed, if there have been extensions signed by any coaches, that are candidates, what have you. We will be back to discuss it all. We are very grateful for everybody who is listening, everyone in the chat. We appreciate any questions, comments, those types of things. Don't forget to leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts if you're listening there. That really helps us out. If you're watching on YouTube, either live or after the fact, hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button down below. We appreciate everyone who does that. If you'd like to find all of Audrey's work, you can find her at insidethelions.substack.com. You can find her on Twitter at OddSnyder4 and on Blue Sky at audreysnyder.bsky.social. You can find me on Blue Sky at johnsauber.bsky.social. You can find me on Twitter at @johnsauber. You can find all of my writing at centerdaily.com. We'll have a coaching board every Monday. I had an updated one this past Monday. Spoiler alert, Elko was at number 1, but I went a little bit of the details there with some of the other candidates that are in the top 5, who dropped out, other names to sort of think about, or at least like have been essentially, there's communication, right? That sort of level of it. As I said, we will be back Saturday evening. Until then, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.